Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and this is the conclusion to the Riddler versus Forge. So when last we left off, Zatanna had just talked to Robin Tim and said, hey, you really need to leverage the back computer to get the answers you need for Hodge's conjecture, which is the riddle, the solution to the riddle that the Riddler has applied to the hack that the Riddler has applied to Cyborg, okay? So Robin Tim says, yeah, and he gathers Nightwing and Robin Damian, and they all go to town using the back computer, right? Well, this is a very, very sad situation for them, because what they do is they're unsuccessful in getting the back computer to kick out an answer for them. And the reason why is all three of them just kind of look at each other and don't say anything, but they realize that because of events that have happened previously, especially relatively previously, they all have been working very independently from Batman, and Batman's been working by himself quite a bit. So they've been taking on their own projects, and of course they circle in and they aid him when they need to, but the reality is all of them understand that they now have functional partnerships with the Batman, but they're not that close. And the reason why is the back computer has a new operating system, it has a new custom code language that Batman has built into it, it has a new machine intelligence, a nascent machine intelligence inside of it, and it's so different than any of them remember that, you know, they're like, ugh. And so they're not able to get what they need. So you know, Cyborg is still out there. They're very, very worried because, you know, each of them have dealt with him before. Of course, Damian's not that worried. You know Damian, right? So Robin Damian's the least worried of them all. But especially Robin Tim Drake is incredibly worried that Cyborg will be used again. While they're checking the back computer, what Nightwing finds is he finds the work that Batman did to investigate the portals between Earth Prime and Earth 616. So Earth Prime is the main Earth in DC Comics, and Earth 616 is the main Earth in Marvel Comics. And so Nightwing finds his calculations, and he finds that essentially at this point, the back computer can find the next portal, can calculate where the next portal will appear within it takes the back computer between an hour and a day to do that. So he kicks that on, and then he continues reading, and at this point, of course, he points Damian, Robin Tim and Robin Damian, to the same information on the back computer. And they also find that Batman has figured out how people are able to return from Earth 616 when they return to Earth Prime. And the reason is, whoever goes through the portal first, the portal will reemerge for that person. If they go to Earth 616, the portal breacher, if they go 53 meters away and then return to the portal point 53 minutes later or after that, the portal will open again, but only for that person, okay? So that means that if like 3 people went through, and, you know, so that means, and so Robin Damian explains, if the 3 of us went through the portal and I went through first, and we all went a mile away and got a taco and had a nice meal, 2 hours later, we could return, and when I got within 53 meters of the portal, as long as it was 53 minutes later or after that, the portal would open, and then I would be able to lead you through. Actually, the portal would open, we could all go through. But if I choked to death on my taco, and the 2 of you returned to that portal point, it would not open, okay? All right, so he explains that, and they all kind of nod, and, you know, they realize this is a big deal because they've been seeing these beings and people come from Earth 616 to Earth Prime, okay? And so at that point, they all realize hey, we haven't been able to solve this issue. And Rob and Damian goes, that's it. You know, we need to go over to Earth 616 and see if there's anyone there who can solve this problem. Well, you know, Nightwing says, it's not going to be any of us. Rob and Damian, you'd be a terrible person to send on this just because you're Rob and Damian. And among the three of them, that's enough explanation. And then Nightwing says, I need to be here to support Green Arrow. And Tim, you're too personal on this whole mission. I want to put somebody a little less detached. So they bring back in Zatanna, right? And they send Zatanna over and they say, hey, we need you to get someone who can solve this issue, right? So Zatanna goes over and she immediately begins researching somebody in Earth 616 who can solve this problem. And what she finds is, once she's over there, she begins her research, and she finds Forge, right? Now, she, you know, she's good friends with Cyborg, and she realizes the nature of Cyborg is he's essentially, you know, he's a human robot, and he's a mixture of the two, right? And so someone with the mutant powers to fix machinery, she's like, you know, bet, I think we got our person. So she talks to Forge, and she brings Forge back to Earth Prime. Forge comes in, he meets with Nightwing, Robin Damian, Robin Tim, and Zatanna. They explain the situation to him, and they also give him full access to the Batcave. Well, he's in hog heaven, and he says, you know, no worries. He goes, so he looks at the issue, and he says, listen, Hodge conjecture, this is huge. The fact that he solved this is big. Excuse me. So he says, listen, I don't think the Riddler solved Hodge's conjecture recently. I think he's probably been working on it for 10 or 15 years in his head and on paper and a bunch of chalkboards and maybe on some computers. We're not going to solve this anytime soon. You can't solve this by actually getting the solution to Riddler's riddle, okay? You're not going to solve Hodge's conjecture in enough time to save Cyborg from committing another crime or even being killed during committing another crime. So he says, okay, so here's what we're going to do. He says, what I can do is I'm going to create these devices, and he begins, like, and actually, he actually creates the device while he explains it. He said, and he holds up these two magnets. He says, these two magnets now have technology that I built into them. And what they will do is they will create a null field around Cyborg as soon as they're placed on him, okay? And he says what that null field will do is it won't receive the transmissions that Riddler is using to control Cyborg, okay? And they're like, great. And Nightwing's giving to me, I'll put him on him. Nightwing goes, I studied Cyborg in order to build this this solution. You can't put these on him, right? I've seen the tech that Riddler is using to transmit to him, and I've seen the tech that Cyborg has. He's going to see you coming a mile away. You guys need the best stealth operative on Earth Prime and Earth 616, and I got him, right? Forge sends Zatanna back to Earth 616. Zatanna returns with the best stealth operative on Earth Prime and Earth 616, according to Forge. That is Invisible Woman, Richard Reed's wife. She comes back. They do a round of introductions. Zatanna's Zatanna has a little bit of hero worship. She really is, really thinks that Invisible Woman has a cool vibe. They get along real well. And then Forge says, while you were going to get Invisible Woman, I also created some devices for you, Invisible Woman, that will help you to hide from Cyborg on the infrared spectrum and a few other spectrums as well that he's going to be able to see you in. So at this point, with your powers and my machinery, you should be able to put these these devices on him. Okay. Invisible, you got it, Forge. So at that point, they wait for they are of course looking for Cyborg, and they are actually able to find Cyborg And the way they do it is Beast Boy. Beast Boy has been doing his thing. He's been looking all through Gotham City for Cyborg, and he actually tells them where Cyborg is a little before the devices are done. But then, you know, there's only about 45-minute delay, and they immediately dispatch Invisible Woman to go and put these magnets on Cyborg. So she hits Cyborg en route to the next crime that Riddler has rented out Cyborg to commit. And Forge's work is so flawless that she's able to do it very, very easily. She puts the null emitters on Cyborg. Cyborg gains complete control of himself, and Invisible Woman leads him back to the Batcave after hiding him and kind of putting a buffer between what Riddler is using to follow and control Cyborg, and so they can go to the Batcave in anonymity, right? Cyborg comes and he says, "Forge, I can't thank you enough, man. It was terrible being in there. I just had the barest sense of what was happening, and I knew I wasn't in control. It was really frightening. I really can't thank you enough." And Forge says, "Well, I'm sorry, but we're not done. I need to fuse these to you, right? And the reason why, so I'm going to fuse these to you. I'm going to make them part of you. Essentially, they're going to be bolted on with, we're going to use the air quotes bolt, but I'm going to make these part of you now, right?" So he does that. He says, now, a skilled mechanic like myself who understands nanotechnology and understands, basic principles could remove these from you, okay? But you want to be very careful about this, because if these magnets are ever removed from you, Riddler will be able to regain control using the same old solution he used previously. And Cyborg's like, "I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Forge." Zatanna spends all this time just asking a million questions to Invisible Woman. And at that point, Invisible Woman says to Zatanna, "Hey, me and Forge, we need to go back. I need to see my husband, Reed Richards." And then Zatanna goes, "You're married?" Right? And she starts asking Invisible Woman about questions about romance, and she says, "Listen, I wish I could help you, but I really do need to return." And Zatanna's like, "Okay." So Zatanna takes Invisible Woman to Forge, and she says, "Hey, Forge, listen," and Forge is in the Batcave with Robin Damian, and he's talking with Robin Damian. And Zatanna says, "It's time for you two to go back. I will take you back through the portal." And Forge says, "Listen, I've been a member of the X-Men for a long time, but my usefulness has really waned to them over the years, right? There's so many mutants there, and very few of them actually use tech. But here, technology, especially within the Bat family, technology is highly valued and is important. And so honestly, I would like to stay. Can I stay?" So Zatanna says, "That's not really my call." She brings up on the Bat computer, she brings up Green Lantern, and Forge asks the same thing to Green Lantern. Green Lantern is so thrilled at the work that he's done. He says, "Not only are you going to stay on Earth Prime, but I'm immediately inducting you into the Justice League." And Forge gets a big old smile on his face. He says, "That's fantastic. I really appreciate your help. Thank you for letting me stay." Zatanna regrettingly returns Invisible Woman to Earth 616. She briefly meets Reed Richards, and then Zatanna returns to Earth Prime. So a big thank you to Norman and Reggie for handling these. Reggie did a great job of handling Cyborg, and Norman did a great job with the Riddler's set. And we really are becoming just more and more fans of both the DC Adventures rule systems and, of course, the Marvel Superheroes Adventure game, which uses the Saga card system. Highly recommend both, although I will warn you, the Saga game is extremely difficult to get at this point. But, there are a few other games you can use to play Marvel at this point, although, unfortunately, none currently being... So Marvel Superheroes Adventure system is very, very good, and it's absolutely great rules engine. Thank you, everybody. Take care.